Women are allowed to make dirty jokes. Lyrics can literally breathe life into your dreams. I'm sorry, I stand by the fact that women are supposed to have humor. I coined the term husband fever. I really wonder what happened between 2025 and 2026, because in 2025 we had the big headline, boyfriends are embarrassing, but now we have all these wedding photographs. Welcome to Your Personal Music Therapy, where I pair psychology with pop culture moments. This week's topic is going to be weddings. Taylor Swift's wedding, Dua Lipa's wedding, and Selena Gomez's wedding in specific. This is the Mugcast, a cozy listen to pair with your coffee. I'm Hannah, I'm a therapist living abroad and a writer online. I write articles on Medium, where I cover everything from music to psychology as a woman living abroad. And recently, I dropped my new book, Facing Away, which you can check out down below. Here on the podcast, I read my stories aloud with a few fresh reflections and insights along the way. So grab a mug, settle in, and let's get into today's episode. I cannot ignore the silent irony that Taylor Swift married on Independence Day. I don't live in the US and I'm not from the US and I'm hyper independent. I think I shouldn't celebrate my diagnoses. Like, generally, I believe you shouldn't be celebrating what a therapist puts on your diagnosis sheet. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk around her wedding specifically, but I don't think that the idea of the wedding is actually the big problem. A lot of people are actually not discussing the wedding itself or the idea of her having a relationship. It's more about her having so much money or her being a pop star, being able to rent out Madison Square Garden. Other people are complaining that it's Madison Square Garden. And the interesting thing is nobody actually talks about the wedding. They're not actually focused on what this means for our current society and also for feminism, because I think it's a big move that recently I've seen a lot of new fairy tales pop up. And the reason I find these new love stories and new love fairy tales so interesting is because we live in an era of strong feminist beliefs where patriarchy is slowly being tossed. Just a few months ago in October, Vogue had this immensely famous article which was called Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? And lots of people agreed with it, yet at the same time, husbands have become so in. So this is going to be the topic of today's episode. As always, the link to my episode will be down below, so you can just scroll to the description and you will find the original article where you can make highlights and little comments wherever you like. This video will have 5 sections. The first section is on changes on the marriage market, which basically talks about Raye and why Raye and Dua Lipa are specifically interesting singers to look into. They've sung songs that are quite literally manifestation songs, and I'm talking about Where Is My Husband by Raye and Dua Lipa's Training season specifically in this part. The second chapter is called Attract, Don't Chase, and this is about Dua Lipa, her love story, and how she basically has had this amazing fairy tale that everybody's so excited about at the moment. Chapter 3 is The Tapestry of Modern Love, which is about Selena Gomez and Blanco. They married last year and their wedding was also a major event. Besides that, they released an album, which I'm going to be talking about because I think it really explains and sonically kind of frames the idea of love in 2026. And I'm also going to be talking about their romance in general because I find their relationship really has become like a relationship role model of sorts. Chapter 4 is going to be Between Jewels and Hardwood, which is about Taylor Swift, her love story, and her album, which last year got a lot of hate. I personally like the album, so I can't really relate to that. And I'm going to be outlining how she shows modern, mature relationships through her music. And finally, in chapter 5, I'm going to be wrapping it all up and giving you a recommendation on a new artist to look out for who will very, very soon also drop a new album about love. Without further ado, let's get started. As is a ritual for this podcast, I'm going to be taking on my pretentious glasses. And every time I embarrass myself as I do that. Embrace the cringe. Let's get started. The title of this article is Boyfriends Are Embarrassing. How about post-patriarchal husbands? The new sound of mature love. Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa, Selena Gomez, and Dove Cameron have what Raye is singing for. The last week has been a whirlwind of love. Obviously, Taylor Swift, the queen of broken heart lyricism, had her heart mended under the dome of Madison Square Garden in New York City. And just a few blocks down the road, a couple climbed up to the top of the Empire State Building to wave a flag about love, only to subsequently get the best engagement photographs the world has ever seen, taken by none less than the rotating New York police helicopters. The message on their banner read, "When the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace." And this is a quote by Jimi Hendrix, or at least it's associated with Jimi Hendrix. All of this happened mere weeks after Dua Lipa's wedding photos surfaced, right the same week that Raye was performing in Blue Note and made a very strong comment, and a cheeky one, about her love life. Seldom do love and music intersect so incredibly well in a society that threatens to forget the sweetness of love, and in the age of dating apps and challenging patriarchal norms in relationships, especially within marriage. Among millennials and Gen Z women, the doe-eyed idea of fairy tale romance seems to slowly die as love becomes a commodity, or a badge to earn, or simply a box to tick. But as Vogue asked just a few months ago, is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? And yet, we seem to be experiencing the surge of a new idea of love, a husband fever of sorts, which redefines the idea of patriarchal relationships and celebrates new fairy tales. Let me introduce you to my favorite learnings and recent love stories as I answer the question, what does love sound like in 2026? Chapter 1, Changes on the Marriage Market. When I grew up in Europe, big monarchs' weddings on TV were a huge home TV event that I couldn't miss. Given that I lived in Austria, the daughter of an English teacher and a history nerd, this was the only chance for me to get a day off from school. Weddings. I clearly vividly remember the day that Kate and William got married, as I stared at the screen, mesmerized by her dress. There were royalty experts on the TV that were not gossiping, but really discussing the history behind her gowns and the jewels that she was wearing, and they reviewed the long history of these ceremonial happenings as they were taking place. But as I grew up, I came to question the narrative of marriage and weddings. And I learned about the patriarchal symbols embedded within a white dress or exchanging rings. Though many girls my age still dream of getting married one day, we also are a generation who soft launches her boyfriends on Instagram to test whether they are accepted by our social circle. Here, at this point, if you click the link down below, I've embedded a video inside my article, which is called The Hidden Sexism in Wedding Traditions. It's by a YouTube channel that I highly recommend. It's called Breaking Down Patriarchy. I love this channel because it gives very well-researched fundamental background information on all the things where patriarchy is so simply embedded in our lives and we just accept it and we never question why things are going this way. But it seems there's hope for love. And one person who literally dedicated her whole new album to the idea of hope is Raye. I love Raye. I'm absolutely in love with Raye. Her new album is bread and butter to my daily life. I love it. I really think this should be the Grammy-winning album of the year, even though I'm a fan of so much good music and 2026 has so many great albums. But Raye's This Music May Contain Hope is just on a different level. The instrumentalization, the orchestration it just blows my mind. It literally has Hans Zimmer on it. She also brought Al Green on. It's just insane. A jewel of music. Highly recommend. This is your homework now. Listen to Raye. At a recent event at the Blue Note Jazz Club in New York, she sang the best tunes from her new breathtaking album, This Music May Contain Hope. And it appears that the hope she was promising is not merely a promise of recovering from hardships or mental health strains, or the world becoming a little less violent one day. Rather, it appears that hope in the album's context is also a very private hope for love. When she was asked about when she would start writing lyrics for her next album, album 3, she cunningly responded, and I'm quoting here, "I won't write a single song before I fall in love. And then the entire album will be just about that, love." What might have been a rather prudent and maybe humorous statement does, however, reverberate across her album, especially given the lead single, Where Is My Husband, which broke loose on the internet in 2025. She says it, she sings it, and she means it. It almost appears that the lyrics have become a mantra or a manifestation of sorts. While one might giggle at the statement and laugh it off as a really good lyrical hook, there's actually quite recent evidence that this precise strategy actually works. And it's not just neuroscientists who investigate neuroplasticity. Scientists who are doing research on neuroplasticity often find that by talking to yourself and reiterating the same thing over and over again, like a mantra or like lyrics that you keep singing, they become true. And some people love to believe in manifestation. I personally believe in science a lot. And so manifestation in and of itself wouldn't be very interesting for me if I hadn't read some papers that show that neuroplasticity is actually fostered by repetitive input. So that's also the reason that vision boards work, by the way. There's actually research to manifestation. It makes sense that lyrics would bring something alive. Like, lyrics can literally breathe life into your dreams. The name of the successful experiment that has previously shown that this works is Dua Lipa and Training Season. Now we get into Chapter 2, Attract, Don't Chase. Dua Lipa released her hit song Training Season in 2024, and coincidentally, this song has become part of her very own love story, which currently is one of the most sought after modern fairy tales. Dua Lipa is known to be a bibliophile. She runs her own podcast where she has interviews with many authors, she hosts a huge book club, and recently opened a library called Manifesto Library, which is dedicated to banned, censored, and challenged books from around the world. Thus, what better love story is there for a reader than meeting your future husband over a book? And so they did. In January 2024, Dua Lipa wrote and produced her new album featuring Training Season. And before it was released, she went to a birthday party of a friend in LA, where she also ran into Callum Turner. She had met him a couple times before, but they didn't really share so much, so they didn't fall in love before that. It just so happened that at this party, Callum noticed that they were both sitting there reading. Turner asked Lipa what she was reading, only to discover that they were both reading the same book, Hernandez Diaz's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, Trust. And upon flipping the page, they fell in love. Basically, their dating history is a real-life Notting Hill. The couple married in May 2026 in London, and they also celebrated in Sicily. And now, right after the honeymoon pictures have been released, inciting even the most radical feminists on the internet, they returned to New York for the next wedding, which is Taylor Swift's wedding. In an interview, Dua Lipa mentioned how Training Season was written with intention and how this song marked a personal turning point for her in her dating life. She was done raising men, wrote the song, and a month before the song was even released, which means that likely Callum Turner never even heard of it before, she found the one. Is it magic? Is it manifestation? Or maybe the power of the externalization of subconscious thought? The idea of writing lyrics from the subconscious to give suppressed intentions a voice, in this case, a body of ink and paper, is not new. But Training Season and Where Is My Husband by Raye are interesting on both a psychological and a feminist level. They represent a shift in the narrative of dating, an open and honest declaration of love without being shamed for chasing love, as it is so often criticized by femininity coaches. And given her love story and also her album title, Selena Gomez is another woman who got it right. Let's get into chapter 3, The Tapestry of Modern Love. Selena Gomez is another recent bride who married the hit producer Benny Blanco last year. Also, Taylor Swift was amongst the guests at this last star-studded wedding in LA. Before the official ceremony, Benny and Selena released an album together, which they famously wrote and co-produced inside their own home. This album is one of my favorite albums of the last year, 2025, with a cozy and yet energetic atmosphere that was unfortunately often overlooked. The album's title is I Said I Love You First, which is a great example of a confessional album title and coincidentally also the truth. Selena did say I love you first, which is also not typically written into the script of patriarchal relationships. Reportedly, the two knew each other for a long time and then became friends, and one time when they were hanging out together, Selena confessed that she actually viewed this meeting as a date. This sort of clear communication made Benny see her in a new light, and the rest is history. But a lovey-dovey romance like theirs would be nothing without its quirks. Of course, Benny Blanco himself is arguably a quirky and loving guy, and so in creating this album, they managed the entire tapestry of modern love and a serious relationship in a multi-dimensional way while winking at each other and smiling. There's many beautifully reflective tunes inside this album, such as Younger and Hotter Than Me, or How Does It Feel to Be Forgotten? And the most honest and sweet song on the album, in my opinion, is Scared of Loving You, where Selena whispers the following lyrics. I'm quoting here. So she sings, I'm not scared of loving you, I'm just scared of losing you. I'm not scared of anyone or dying young, or if you're going to find somebody new, because how could they love you as much as I do? Which is so cute. The soft strumming of the guitar crafts a sweet and loving aura that very much reflects how Benny and Selena interact across many interviews. Their love and care for one another has become infamous, and their way of surprising and gently holding each other has offered a new script for many relationships. But their relationship on the album also has another side. Songs like Bluest Flame or Sunset Boulevard are clearly written about Benny, but they're different, not as sweet. The most explicit love song in both senses of the word must be Sunset Boulevard, where Selena pulls from Sabrina Carpenter's horny metaphor trick box and sings about his big, hard heart, among lots of sighs. Besides the catchy retro productions of the synth and the beat, the song clearly has hit potential, also because of its controversial and smirky lyrics. The same tactic, however, landed Taylor in her album The Life of a Showgirl into a Swiftie shitstorm. Chapter 4. Between Jewels and Hardwood. And now for the star of the show, and arguably most shows, Taylor Swift. Love her or hate her, but she's walking the carpet for a reason. Not only is her wedding now labeled the wedding of the decade, but her love story with Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce is no less sparkly than the two previously mentioned ones. I will not go through their entire dating history, but here's a brief outline for anyone who doesn't know, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but Travis Kelce was in pursuit of giving Taylor Swift a friendship bracelet with his phone number on it. These friendship bracelets are an exchange gift among Swifties at concerts, thus making this a very cute and very thoughtful gesture of love. I am, by the way, also wearing my own friendship bracelets today. I'm wearing Cancelled and Wood. Hope you can see that. Ding ding. Because I made those when I was in Korea. I actually have a whole article breaking down the entire album Life of a Showgirl because I think it is that good. Back to Travis Kelce. After failing to give the bracelet to Taylor Swift because, surprise, surprise, it's quite difficult to just give something to Taylor Swift, he went on his podcast New Heights, which he hosts with his brother, and he told the story of how he was trying to give these friendship bracelets to Taylor Swift. And from then on, the wheels started turning until they eventually met. And now they are married. After 17 years of songs about heartbreak and endless torment by the press about being a serial dater, Taylor Swift is finally married. Pulling a Travis Kelce has actually become a slang term among Gen Z for being ambitious and brave in love. Basically, it means you put your heart on the line to give it your best shot. And as mentioned earlier, friendship bracelets and admitting to an unrequited love as a man are also not things that are typically written into the script of how romance used to work for men. Thus, her album The Life of a Showgirl, which I really love, became a turning point for Taylor, as it was her first album in a happy engagement. She openly admitted to being scared that her lyricism would suffer from finally being happy. But despite some parts of the Swiftie community disagreeing, I think her album turned out great. What Selena Gomez packed into Scared of Loving You, Taylor captured in a song called Wish List, which sings about her wanting to have a house with a basketball hoop and living a life with Travis. There's also the song The Fate of Ophelia, which uses some nudges to football terminology while playing with old and new terms as antagonists, as she describes Travis as having saved her from the fate of Ophelia, which, if you don't know, is a name from Hamlet, and she dies. So he saved her from dying. Yay. We love that. Opalite is also about Travis because his favorite gem is an opalite. But then last but certainly not least, we have Wood. I love Wood. I truly love this song. But I also love Sabrina Carpenter, so this is a very logical connection. It was easy to see that so much of the Swiftie fandom had a problem with this song though, especially saying it was too much and saying it was too cheesy. Yes, she sings about her thighs being opened and she sings about redwood, and the final nail in the bark was probably the word digmatized, which made some Swifties erupt into derogatory accusations. God forbid a woman jokes about a man in a sexual way. God forbid a woman expresses her love to a man by using physical descriptions. I've listened to a lot of Eminem lately, and let me tell you, a metaphor or two would have been very calming. But I love Eminem. I'm just saying, there's worlds between Taylor Swift's Wood and how other people are allowed to express their love or sexuality. I will always stand by the statement that it doesn't matter whether it's Sabrina Carpenter singing about her horniness or Selena Gomez admiring her husband's big heart or Taylor just liking hardwood floors a little too much. Women are allowed to make dirty jokes. I can already smell the comments, but by now, after much hate that I got for my Taylor Swift article about liking lyrics that are smirky or lyrics that are slightly horny, I have got bark for skin. I'm sorry, I stand by the fact that women are supposed to have humor. Chapter 5. My recommendation for you to listen to next. It seems that when Dua Lipa sings about training season being over and Raye asks sonically where her husband is, they are doing two things at once. They're manifesting and they're challenging the landscape of modern love. If you would like to hear the sound of a healthy relationship in 2026, you can have a choice of listening to Selena Gomez's album I Said I Love You First, or you can listen to Taylor Swift's The Life of a Showgirl, which has a specific acoustic extension that I like. All of these songs and albums, in my eyes, are beautiful artifacts of the evolution of love, away from patriarchy and into a kind and loving embrace of the entirety of a relationship with a genuine smirk. And for those who crave more music about love in a different cadence, I would like to recommend Dove Cameron, who will be dropping her highly anticipated album later this year. It also is expected to circle around her relationship with her fiancé, Damiano David. Until then, you can indulge in Dove's pre-release singles, Too Much, Romeo, which is clearly about him, and Hello My Old Lover, which center around her relationship, but her sound is a little more rose-thorned than Selena and Taylor. In my eyes, Dove and Damiano deserve the title of the hottest couple in Hollywood at the moment, and guess what? They're also engaged. Damiano David's voice is great, and Dove Cameron's voice is amazing. If you want to listen to something amazing, treat yourself to Breakfast and Boyfriend. I love it when a woman has like a really deep voice, and Dove Cameron has that, definitely. Summa summarum, I love to listen to these couples and their unconstrained love in their music. I'm thrilled that today the internet discusses prenups alongside wedding dresses, and I enjoy that women confessing and having open conversations about love and open communications with their partners, and also men putting their ego on the line for love are becoming the new fairy tales of the future. Thank you so much for granting me access to your ears on the Mugcast. You can read more of my writing on Medium at Hannah's Café, or you can hop over to my Instagram or my threads, where I'm also Hannah's Café, for more cozy content and updates. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to follow the podcast and leave a like, and share it with a fellow coffee lover. And let me know in the comments what topic I should be tackling next. I hope you had a nice cappuccino with this episode, and I'm going to see you next time for another discussion of psychology and music over a cup of coffee. See you soon somewhere on Hannah's Café. Bye bye!